My name is Guy Gruters. I was a captain in the U.S. Air Force, 9 years of service. I went to the Air Force Academy, graduated in '64, and was a POW for 5 years and 3 months, starting in December 20th of '67, ending in March 14th of 1973. It was a unit called Misties. There was only 14 of us. It was top secret, all volunteer. So I was shot down twice in Misties, and then, the second time captured. We're Misties. We go in that low, below the clouds all the time and low level all the time. Those convoys came out on the road during the daytime when the weather was down like that, because they knew the strike flights couldn't come in, with the bombs, right? They couldn't see them. Bob Craner, who was the ops officer, asked if I'd like to come up with him, and so I said yes. So we were up there all alone. We were the only fighter in North Vietnam that day. And this was a farm valley, a rural farm valley, and there's 36 guns. We'd go after the positions that were really good, where the guy in command of the guns was really good, and that's all the difference in the world. So we circle them, and we're marking them on 1 to 50,000 maps, and I'm marking these positions down. When one of the shells, these are hard balls and soft balls of fire, and at the last second, to give you an idea how close it was probably a few feet out. I ducked my head at the last second, and my thought was, my only hope is it's a dud, because I thought it was going to hit the canopy, and that was it. But it hit 4 feet behind. It exploded, knocked out both hydraulic pumps, main and alternate. So it flipped us over and into the ground upside down. So I thought, are you kidding me? But then I ejected, got in, and I was able to slip a chute into a little patch of woods. As the chute opened, you hear gong, 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 gong all over the valley. And this gong obviously meant go out and get the pilot that's coming down in the chute, because you had literally thousands of people coming out from 5, 10 villages. So it's getting, as soon as it's dark, of course, I want to try to get across that valley to those mountains. I've got radios, and in during the night I can call a fighter. Hopefully somebody will come over in the morning or something. So I made the mistake of thinking in my mind, okay, now I got it. And the second I said in my mind, okay, now I got it, with the dark, I hear, I got two guys. So really slowly I get up, I walk over to them. Very quickly I'm stripped down in my underwear. 10 other soldiers are there almost immediately from their unit that's there, and within a few minutes all their squad is there. One of the guys with a rifle, but bam, hits me in the head. I'm on the ground, stunned like a son of a gun. Now they beat the living crap out of me, 10 guys with rifle butts, okay? So I'm dying. It's really bad beating. So basically I figured, well, at least I know what it's like to be beat to death. So on the outskirts of that, there's what they call the bamboo prison, which was, again, another one of these standard build 10 by 20 foot bamboo huts. The conditions, it's like, the only way I can describe it is that you're put in a coffin. That's the truth, okay? You're in a coffin. It's just like you're buried in a coffin, okay? And the crowd goes away. And that's the Americans go away. And the military goes away. And your family goes away. You say, hey, I'm here in a coffin. Help. Okay? But there's no help. There's no way out. And it looks like you're going to die in the coffin. One night, after a number of days, they moved in Lance Saigon. Now, we didn't know it was Lance or anything like that. In the morning, they take Craner and I out, and they have us go help this guy, because Lance had 2 broken bones where they're sticking out of his leg. He's really in bad shape, okay? When we pick him up, he's bigger than we are, and we're big guys. He looks at me from this far away and he says, aren't you Guy Gruters? And I did a double take, one of 2 I ever did in my life, and I said, who are you? He says, Lance. I said, Lance who? He said, Saigon, Lance Saigon. I said, oh no, not Saigon. Not Saigon. Not Saigon. I couldn't believe that this was Lance. Lance was in my squadron at the academy for 3 years. He's on the football team. He's a man among men. Everybody was in really good shape, but Lance was, one of the strongest of the strong. And now I can pick him up 60, 70, 80 pounds. I don't know what he was, but he was just really just like a skeleton now. And because he'd been 45 days without food. And then they started torturing Lance for name, rank, service number, date of birth. That's all he'd give them, you know, and so on. And after a couple of days of horrible beatings, and you know, Craner and I are screaming and so on. They beat us, but we didn't care, and they stopped beating us after a day or two because they're beating the crap out of Lance, you know, many times a day. He won't give him anything. Then we got with him, and then it's where he deteriorated badly. Remember, he got a bad infection, and he, you know, just got weaker and weaker and weaker, and you know, finally they took him away to the hospital when he called for his dad, and his dad remembers that day. His dad heard his call. That's God and so on, and it resulted in great hatred in me, and it took me, you know, it took me six months. I got in hatred, which almost killed me, and I tried to get out of it. I couldn't on my own. I started praying, and literally after 6 months of prayer, Jesus got me out of the hatred, and I started praying for my enemies, and that got me through the rest of the prison camp. Now, what got us out of there was the B-52 bombing in 1972. We had 100 B-52s drop 105 bombs each. That's 10,000 bombs a night for 11 days, 38,000 tons of high explosive. Remember, on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, there were 40,000 tons of high explosive, two 20-kiloton atom bombs. So you drop the same amount of high explosive tonnage as the 2 atomic bombs in 11 days, okay, on Hanoi, Haiphong, military targets, but they're dropping from 50,000 feet. The bombs went everywhere, okay, including on the communist cadre. They couldn't take it. They signed a peace agreement in January. Now, we didn't know that up in the dungeons, of course, okay. We went down to a go-home camp, and they read us the peace agreement by treaty like the 25th or whatever of January. And that was about the 15th of January when we got on those trucks, and they read us a peace agreement that we were going home on March 14th.